here's Brody Brazil.
So when the whole jersey debacle popped up for Major League Baseball back in spring training, you kind of had to know that as soon as the regular season hit, more fans, more eyeballs, more different varieties of jerseys being worn, that this problem wasn't going to go away. In fact, it would only seemingly multiply. And the coverage continues on a lot of different platforms and outlets, including The Athletic, their most recent headline saying, as MLB's uniform issues persist, Nike searches for solutions to sweat stains and mismatched grays. That's right, it's not just about the fabrication or the lettering or the see-through pants. Now we've got mismatched gray-colored jerseys that everybody's taking notice to, and also sweat stains, as you saw there, for some members of the New York Yankees. So just to kind of summarize everything that's going on here, we talk about jersey issues. There's the smaller letters and names on the back that just aren't seemingly popular and are certainly not traditional. There's the two-tone gray jerseys and pants, like the jerseys and the pants, the tops and bottoms, are sometimes blue-gray versus gray-gray, and the tops and bottoms just have a different fabrication to them. There's kind of a less quality aspect to all of this. If you actually feel one of the new jerseys, they just don't feel like they used to. And to be honest, they're designed differently. They're designed to be more of a performance-based apparel, but they just don't have the feel of quality or even expensive quality, I guess is a way to put it. The sweat stains are obviously seen on the gray jerseys. That's kind of an issue. That's never really been a problem before. Yeah, the transparent pants. I mean, it's one thing to be able to see a jersey tucked in the front of pants, but it's another thing to be able to almost plainly read the label of the jersey top through the jersey pants. All the patches, all the sponsor patches, all the team patches, there's nothing embroidered anymore. And a lot of players are saying, well, what is the performance benefit here? I don't notice anything that works for the actual players better so far. This is text from the piece that's in The Athletic. I highly encourage you to read it. I'll put links to it down below in the description here. It would seem easy enough for Major League Baseball to declare the situation unacceptable and mandate changes, right? They're in control here. Why not? But this is a delicate dance of corporations with a partnership worth more than $1 billion. The offspring of the relationship is a problem child. But the league and its official uniform supplier, Nike, have been reluctant to take responsibility. In fact, a lot of the heat so far has fallen on Fanatics, and as far as I can understand, and I've done some work and research into this, Fanatics is just doing what they're told and making what they're told to make. These are Nike's concepts, and this is all approved by Major League Baseball. But where exactly are they, Nike and Major League Baseball, on this process? More from The Athletic. A person with knowledge of the Fanatics production process explained that Nike's fabric is already dyed when it arrives at the Fanatics factory in Pennsylvania. The pants fabric comes from the same Nike-approved vendor as in prior years, while the new jersey tops are from a separate vendor, as UniWatch's Paul Lucas has reported. Different fabrics accept dye differently, and different vendors have slightly different dyeing processes. Previously, the pants and shirts were cut from similar fabric that was manufactured and dyed at the same factory, making dye differences minimal. So there you go. The jersey tops and pants are coming from different swaths of fabric, and that's why they'll look different. And as for the sweating through the grays thing that's going on, in a statement to The Athletic, Nike acknowledged that they had received feedback from teams and are, quote, testing different options to lessen the moisture-related aesthetic color differences, end quote. They could have said, we're trying to make it so you can't see the players sweat. But in more fancy technical words, that's exactly what they're doing. Now, I have no clue how they'll make this work. You'd think only a different type of fabric would be the solution here. But yeah, I don't know that we've ever seen a player so blatantly sweating through a jersey like that. And there's plenty of examples across the first real full week of the season. You don't need to dig deep to see that a lot of players are sweating through their gray jerseys. MLB did put out a statement that The Athletic obtained saying in part, quote, Nike chose the letter sizing and picked the fabric that was used in these jerseys. Fanatics has done a great job manufacturing everything to the exact specifications provided by Nike. As part of this significant transition, Nike will continue to explore necessary adjustments to certain elements of the new uniforms to meet the needs of MLB clubs and players, end quote. And it should have said fans on there too. Because the players and clubs aren't really paying for the jerseys and wanting the jerseys and consuming the product like the fans are. I wish the fans were represented in that statement. Okay, but as for the players, there's been a bunch of them talking, and a bunch of them were quoted in this Athletic piece. In fact, this is kind of the highlight of the whole piece. Maybe I'm saving this for the very end. But let's get to Andrew Chafin, kind of a journeyman. I knew him from his time here in Oakland playing for the A's. He said, quote, "There's no special feel to it," talking about the jerseys. You pick it up and you should feel like you're putting on a freaking crown and a big-ass fluffy cape. You know what I mean? They're not bad jerseys, just in my opinion, they're not big league jerseys. And I fully understand that. Again, it doesn't have to do with the heavy versus lightweight material. Have you ever put on a soccer kit, a football kit, from England? Like, those jerseys are thin, but there's something to the texture. There's something to the fabrication, the stitching that lets you know, like, they are well built and they spare no expense in the construction of the jerseys. Like, I have felt this year's Major League Baseball jerseys, the Nike Elite Vapor chassis or whatever it's called, they don't have that same feel like they used to. Or they don't have that same feel of what a proper football kit would look like. So I totally understand what Chafin is saying there. And it's hard for all of us who are not tailors to put all of this into words, what we're seeing and feeling and how to actually describe it. Brock Stewart of the Minnesota Twins said, quote, "It's a downgrade this year. That's all I'll say. It's a downgrade. My dad was watching the game and said, some guys look like their jerseys are a different shade of gray than their pants." Then he goes on to say, "Do we have the old ones in the back of the closet somewhere that we can bring out?" And I mean, you'd have to think that's kind of the sentiment for a lot of different players. Why did we go from something that was fine and nobody complained about to improvements that didn't get remedied, that didn't apparently get approved or okayed by enough people? They're a surprise, and they're not what most desire or expect. Marcus Stroman of the Yankees said, quote, "I don't think it feels heavier or anything. It just looks wetter to the public eye. I feel like these jerseys retain water rather than kind of wicking it off." And that's unfortunate because that's exactly what the design was supposed to not do. It was supposed to breathe easier and stay drier. It's performance-based sportswear turned into a jersey. But what's the performance part if, like, literally Marcus Stroman is saying, yeah, it doesn't do that. It does the opposite. And so there's somebody who's put it on, who's sweat through it, who understands it. Brandon Nimmo of the New York Mets, quote, "It's not any worse, but I don't feel like it's 1,000% better either. I certainly didn't have any problems with it. I'm not sure why they changed it. They claimed that it was performance, but I haven't noticed any difference in the first few games or even in spring training." There you go. There's honesty. So why fix something that's not broke in the first place? Mark Canha, another former Athletic, former Metropolitan, former Brewer, former a lot of things, now with the Detroit Tigers. Quote, "You'll notice when we play today, the gray in our tops is not really the same as the gray on the pants. It doesn't match this jersey that he's probably holding up is kind of a shiny gray, and the gray on the pants is kind of dull. They just look like different colors. Slightly." Like, these are baseball professionals here. They're not experts in merchandising or apparel or sewing or stitching, and they can see this because it's part of their job. They put on this uniform every day. And let's totally switch gears here. Joe Buck was interviewed by The Athletic for this story. You know him as a major announcer of a lot of different professional sports. But he said about this issue, quote, "I feel that a big number and name presentation is part of the marketing of these players." Let me just go over that one more time, because now we're switching gears to the font size on the back of the jerseys. It's so much smaller, harder to read, less visible from a distance or even on television on camera. "I feel that a big number and name presentation is part of the marketing of these players. A father or mother wants to be able to recognize a player and tell their child who that player is in an instant. And making it more difficult to do that is not the way I would go. So again, whether they're sitting in the second or third deck, whether they're watching on television and it's a bit farther away, yeah, the new names on the back are significantly smaller. And most teams, old versus new, is a drastic change. So even Joe Buck has some thoughts and some input here. So let me get to some quick conclusions of this video. It unfortunately seems like a very heavy lift to totally remedy all of these problems right now. And if it were just one thing or another or three things, okay, they could probably work that out pretty quick and figure things out maybe by the All-Star break. You understand there's design and implementation, and there's a whole supply chain here that has been started many months ago to even get us to this point. So it would take a long time to figure this out first and then create the solution for it next and make the brand new jersey. So it doesn't seem like it's possible to fix here in 24, but it does seem like something worth changing, like fix all of this at once for 2025. Don't delay, get on it, make the changes, take stock of everything that's being talked about here for Nike and for Major League Baseball, and then have Fanatics make something right, something better. I mean, just make the old ones. They were just fine. But at least the issues are now being acknowledged by baseball, by Nike. Fanatics already took a ton of heat for all this stuff. I'll be honest, the longer this plays out, the more it's very clear that they are part of this, and they probably should have had some input too along the way to be like, yo, people here, do you really want to go forward with this? Like, we know the product. We know this may not go over well. It just feels like a bunch of different entities were asleep at the wheel here and let this all go through. And that's kind of my last point here. There really has been little accountability from Major League Baseball. I mean, even if Nike came up with the worst idea, didn't baseball at some point have to say, you did it. Great job. We'll go with that. We'll take 70,000 of those. At some point, baseball had to approve what Nike was doing or what Fanatics was about to make. So if we're really going to go to the top on this and figure out where it starts, I realize it's a partnership. And Nike doesn't want to upset baseball, and baseball doesn't want to upset Fanatics, and Fanatics doesn't want to upset Nike or Major League Baseball. I get it. It's a total love triangle here. But at some point, you got to be honest with each other, make a better product, take some accountability, and in my opinion, it starts at the top with Major League Baseball. You get to dictate what your teams and players do and don't wear, what they do and don't want. You should have known better in all of this. So let's hope, like I said, like 24 is kind of a lost season for the uniforms and whatever they were trying to do. Figure it out for 25, make it perfect, make it flawless. Take this year to do everything right and move forward, or maybe move backwards to move a bit forwards, if you know what I mean, and solve this problem. Make this go away. Baseball and its fans should not be talking about stuff like this here at the beginning of a brand new season. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me and this video and this channel. And speaking of that, if you've just come across me in the channel for the very first time, that's awesome. I'm glad you found me. But make sure before you go, before this video ends, go down there and hit that subscribe button so I can definitely see you back here next time.